I'm looking at an article from Facebook titled "Speaking Up for Small Businesses." Oh, the hypocrisy. You guys asked me to touch on the iOS 14 update and how it's going to affect us as small business entrepreneurs, advertisers, and e-commerce brand owners. And that's what I'm going to do here in this video. This is the official announcement by Facebook, specifically Dan Levy, the VP Ads and Business Products, on December 16th. So let's just touch on this. And I've got something I want to break down for you guys. So Facebook is speaking up for small businesses. Apple's new iOS 14 policy will have a harmful impact on many small businesses that are struggling to stay afloat and on the free internet that we all rely on more than ever. Here's an overview of what Apple is doing and where we stand. So if you guys didn't know, basically Apple is releasing an update that is going to really be detrimental to the ability for the Facebook Pixel to do tracking. And I'm going to touch on ways to get around this for right now and kind of prepare for that big update that's going to be rolling out. But first, I want to jump into these points here that Dan Levy of Facebook is making. So Dan Levy's taking this stance as though they're speaking up for small business. As a fellow advertiser watching this video, you guys know that this is insanely hypocritical. Speaking of which, I actually have an email with Dan Levy back in May 30th. So my account, my Facebook profile was restricted from advertising. Simultaneously, and to preface this, all of my business's feedback scores were a 4.8 or higher. I had 2-day shipping times. My customers loved the product. All of my advertising followed policies. And my accounts were spending upwards of $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a day when my Facebook advertising access was restricted. My accounts continued to spend. There was a 5-day period where I could not control my ads, and they were spending $5,000 a day. Thankfully, I have one of my business partners in connections that I have put me in touch with Dan Levy. This person had actually spoken at Facebook before. They had known Dan, and they put me in touch with him. They explained the issue. I sent this long descriptive message breaking down everything. And sorry to hear. So you can see I'm having technical glitches with Facebook ads. Terrifying part, spending thousands of dollars a day. It's been 17 days with no solutions. This is Dan Levy's response. Sorry to hear, escalated. I'm surprised your account rep is not forwarding. We'll check. From Dan, it then got passed down to someone else, then down to someone else, then down to someone else. And by the end of it, I was back on the normal support line. And all the normal support line said was, "Oh, sorry, you're in queue." And there's a thread to this, but I want to keep the person that referred me private. I'm insanely grateful for this referral and this connection. I don't want them to be under any fire. But each time I responded asking for any updates, my emails were ignored after I got passed down. And actually, since May, I have still been having this issue. I still have a ticket open from May 12th with no response whatsoever. I'm a small business owner. I have 5 clients. I have 7 employees that need to feed their families from the salary that I pay them from running ads. And all of my emails were ignored. So I do not want to hear that Facebook cares about small business. They don't. They do not care about us small business owners. They care about their corporate companies. They care about their investors, but they do not care about small business. The reason that they're so upset about this is because they can't collect the data that they need to make their investors more money. It has nothing to do with small business. So that's just to touch on that. This is insanely hypocritical. The fact that Dan Levy and Facebook ads are taking the stance as though they care about small business. They definitely don't. So let's just get that out of the way. So let's now talk about Apple's iOS 14 update. So from my understanding, things are going to change in terms of optimizing for events that are fired with the Pixel. So let's talk about what those would be. Custom events for lead gen, activity on a website, time engaged, aspects like that. But what is not going to be affected, and what I highly recommend you do as soon as possible, is set up the Conversions API with your Facebook ads integration. Conversions API is going to send any purchase events, any emails collected, anything that you can collect from the visitor or the customer, you can then send server side. And this is what is referred to as a first-party pixel. So before I quit my job, back in 2015, I was a developer at a company called Conversant. Conversant is actually an ads platform just like Facebook. It has a bidding platform, which that's what I worked on, some of the bidding platform, more on the testing side of it, but I still kind of got some pretty good knowledge of how it works. And it was definitely a great experience. But what Conversant always pitched to their customers was this idea of a first-party pixel. It's not a pixel that's on the website. What it is essentially data sharing between clients. So let's think about it as though you and I were these clients. So let's say you are in the beauty niche, and so am I. The way that Conversant's first-party pixel would work is you would share the data with Conversant. I would share my data with Conversant. And by utilizing both of our data, they can actually provide better results to both parties. And that's essentially how the Conversions API works, is Facebook has the ability to still retrieve that data from the server, meaning Shopify or whatever platform you uses sends the information, IP address, email, activities to Facebook. They collect it, and then they do the attribution. Where it's going to be more difficult is tracking visitors. The higher up in the funnel you go, the more difficult it is going to be to track moving forward. But to touch back on this point, it's just very frustrating to see Facebook come out like they're the good guys and Apple is enforcing something that is, something that is unfair. When you look at how many advertisers in their small businesses have been affected this year by Facebook's policies and their lack of support, there's nothing that Apple is doing wrong when you look at it in comparison to that. I advertise on Pinterest, I advertise on Google, I advertise on Taboola. In my experience with their policies and their support, phenomenal. They're a 10 out of 10 with Facebook's a 1 out of 10 when it comes to that and supporting small businesses. So as an e-commerce entrepreneur, as a brand owner, as an advertiser, it's going to be more and more important to collect every piece of data that you possibly can. Collect emails, make sure you have the Conversions API set up. If you want to go a step further, set up your offline events and use Zapier to then send offline events to Facebook, anything that the Conversions API can't track. It's going to be a matter of just trying to collect as much data as possible on our own. Email lists are going to become much more valuable. And this is the future. I mean, in my eyes, we have to look at it from the point of the general user. Is Facebook collecting too much data? Yes, definitely. Without a question. They have probably way too much information on every individual in the USA or in the world. Way more than what's needed to drive results. And I think what Apple's doing is the right thing to do in terms of privacy. There's probably some terms and conditions in Apple's iOS14 policy that I don't know about, and maybe my view on this is incorrect. Please leave a comment with any information that you have. But let's keep going through this. So in June 2020, I want to dive in case some of you guys have some more questions on this. In June 2020, Apple announced a new policy requiring apps to show a discouraging prompt, which will hurt their ability to build their businesses. So let me get this right, Facebook. You're saying that a policy that says, hey, can we track absolutely everything you do on the internet, yes or no, is discouraging? What are your thoughts on that? I don't know. So let's see what they're saying. So who's truly impacted? Your neighborhood coffee brewer, your friend who owns a retail business, your cousin who started an event planning service, and their game developers. No, I'm assuming, every single one of these type of businesses that I've worked with has had way more issues with Facebook banning their profiles, restricting their ad accounts even though they're following policy, and then keeping their ad spending. I've seen way more issues with that than what this is going to have an impact on. First, free apps. Entrepreneurs and creators rely on advertising to make money and in turn provide free content to people. Your morning news. This is such, like, come on. Let's try to get to a better touch point than that. The reality behind it's more about profit than privacy. You want to know the main reason that Facebook's complaining is because it's affecting their profit. They don't care about the privacy. This is so hypocritical. This article, the first time I read through this, man, it made me cringe reading it. Just knowing what we all know about the experience of a small business advertising on Facebook ads. Apple tax. If content creators have a turn to ways to make money outside of advertising, such as charging people for a subscription or in-app payments, those fees are subject to an Apple tax ranging from 15% to 30%. And this is big business, as Apple's hardware sales are slowing and they have to pivot to their services business. It's the App Store platform grossing around $50 billion in 2019. Apple stands to profit even more from the App Store. In short, Apple's updates changes mean more money for Apple and less free stuff to people. Didn't Apple just release a new M1 chip? Speaking of which, that's what I'm using for my MacBook, and it's an insanely innovative chip. I mean, Apple has a car plan for 2024. I don't think this hardware issue is as big of a concern as what they're making it. Once again, it's coming down to the fact that this is affecting Facebook's profit because their results might hinder. And you know what? I don't mind if my results and my clients' results are hindered with Facebook. You want to know why? Because we have been starting to move off of Facebook because it is a mess. It is a headache to try to advertise. And even if you follow every single policy with Facebook ads, they'll still ban you. They still ignore your tickets. The support's a joke. You can't get in touch with anybody. If my results are hindered, big deal. We're starting to move off of Facebook ads anyways. This is what Facebook deserves. This exactly right here. I am actually so ecstatic that Facebook is finally getting a little taste of their own medicine. This should show them that they can't treat small business the way that they do. It's a joke. I get it. Small business and small business advertisers probably make up a lower amount of their revenue. But what this is going to cause is the trickle-down effect to their investors. Facebook makes a big chunk of their money off of advertising. And if small businesses start leaving one by one and other platforms get the opportunity to drive results, TikTok, Google, Pinterest, who knows, YouTube. I mean, all of these other platforms now have this opportunity to make something happen. I hope that one of them ends up partnering with Apple to provide some type of native advertising experience. Even if Apple released a platform, who knows if they do, but to advertise, I'm all about it. Give Facebook a taste of their medicine. Their small business policies are a joke. Yeah, this is going to affect us as advertisers, but if you're going for purchase, I don't think it's going to affect the purchases as much as they're making it out to seem, because you can send server-side events. You can collect emails, upload those. You can send events via Zapier, offline events, upload data lists. It's the top-level funnel stuff that's going to be affected. Sure, we might see some inconsistency with ads, but this is such a hypocritical post. And it's just insanely... It's the stance that Facebook's taking right here is a joke. I mean, you guys know it. Everyone that's watching this video, if you've run an ad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They do not care about us as advertisers, us as running a small business. You guys don't understand the stress. I mean, you do understand the stress. When you follow the policies to a T, you go through all of their policy programs. I was a verified marketing agency partner. And yet they can just close down my business with no type of explanation. And then I get put in touch with Dan Levy, VP of Ads and Business Products, and I'm just tossed off to the side down the line, and my ticket's still unseen. How many months are we? May, June, July, August, September, November, December. And then January. We are going 8 months in. I have a ticket open with Facebook that has been 8 months with no response. Facebook does not care about small businesses. They're just mad because this is going to affect their stock price, possibly. So give them a taste of the medicine. I'll take a little bit of hindered results because I'm taking my clients off their platform day by day anyways. And let me know your guys' thoughts on this. I don't think it's as big of a deal as they're making out to be for us if you're going for purchases and for leads, because we can track those conversions. Just a little taste of their own medicine. Hey, thank you for watching that video. If you want to see one of my past videos, go ahead and click up there. If you would prefer to see a random video suggested to you by YouTube, go ahead and click the bottom one. I'll see you in the next video.